The galaxy was quiet. Too quiet. No one had heard from the Galactic Alliance colony on Proxima Centauri b for 3 weeks. The silence worried many in the Alliance headquarters. Proxima Centauri was their farthest colony, a brave new settlement of 50,000 beings from across the galaxy. They should have sent their weekly report by now. "We must send someone to check," said Grand Minister Zalthor, his 4 arms moving in worried patterns as he addressed the Alliance Council. "This is not like them." The Council agreed, though they did not think it was a big problem. "Probably just a broken communication system," they said. "Nothing to worry too much about." Ambassador Zelmore was chosen to lead a small team to visit the colony and fix any problems. Zelmore was an experienced diplomat with blue skin and silver eyes. He had helped bring 3 new species into the Alliance in his long career. He was respected by all. His team included 10 others: security guards, tech experts, and medical staff. They left the next day on a small, fast ship called the Starwing. The Tier journey to Proxima Centauri took 5 days. As they approached the planet, Zelmore tried to contact the colony. "Proxima Colony, this is Ambassador Zelmore of the Galactic Alliance. Please respond." No answer came. They tried again and again. Nothing. "Something is wrong," said Mira, the ship's pilot. Her antenna twitched nervously. "I'm not picking up any of the usual signals from the colony." When they entered orbit, they saw why. The colony was in ruins. Buildings were broken and burning. No movement could be seen on the ground. The team looked at each other with horror in their eyes. "We need to land and search for survivors," Zelmore said, his voice heavy with dread. They landed their ship near what was once the colony's main square. As they stepped outside, the smell hit them first. The smell of smoke, burned materials, and death. They covered their faces with breathing masks and moved forward. The colony had been attacked. That much was clear. Bodies lay in the streets, some burned beyond recognition. Buildings were crushed or torn apart. Vehicles were upside down and broken. "Who could have done this?" whispered Drex, one of the security guards. His scaled hand rested on his weapon as his eyes scanned the ruins. They moved carefully through the destroyed colony. Hours passed. They found no one alive until they heard a sound from beneath a fallen wall. Working together, they lifted the debris to find a small group of survivors hiding in a basement. There were 7 of them, 6 colonists and a child. They were hungry, thirsty, and afraid. The team gave them water and food. "What happened here?" Zelmore asked gently. A woman named Lyra spoke. Half her face was covered in burns. "The Kresnars came," she said, her voice raspy. 3 huge ships appeared without warning. They bombed us from space, then landed soldiers who killed everyone they found. The team looked at each other in shock. The Kresnars were a warrior race from the outer rim of the galaxy. They were known to be aggressive, but they had never attacked an Alliance colony before. "When did this happen?" asked Zelmore. 18 days ago, Lyra said. "They stayed for 5 days killing and destroying. Then most of them left. But some still patrol the ruins. They said no one would come for us, that we were too far away, that the Alliance had forgotten us. We need to get these people to safety and report back to the Alliance," said Caro, the team's medical officer, as she treated the survivors' injuries. Zelmore nodded. "Let's move quickly. The longer we stay, the more danger we're in." They were, helping the survivors toward their ship when the shooting began. Blasts of energy hit the ground around them. One hit Drex in the back. He fell without a sound. "Take cover," shouted Tamar, the security leader. The team scattered, pulling the survivors behind fallen walls and broken vehicles. Kresnar warriors appeared from the ruins. They were large, with gray-green skin and natural armor plates covering their bodies. Each carried a powerful energy rifle and wore a cruel expression. "Alliance weaklings," one of them called out. "You should not have come here. This world belongs to the Kresnar Empire now." Tamar and the other security guards fired back, but they were outnumbered. One by one, they fell to the Kresnar's weapons. Zelmore watched in horror as his team was cut down. "Run for the ship," he ordered the survivors. "We'll cover you." Lyra and the others made a dash for the Starwing while the remaining team members fired at the Kresnars. But as they reached the ship, more Krasnars appeared from behind it. They had been waiting, knowing the team would try to escape. The survivors were gunned down before they could board. Zelmor felt a burning pain in his side as a blast hit him. He fell to his knees. The Krasnar leader walked up to him, towering over the fallen ambassador. "Tell your alliance that this is just the beginning," the Krasnar said. "The outer colonies will fall one by one, and there's nothing you can do to stop us." The Krasnar raised his weapon to finish Zelmor, but another called out. "Leave him, Commander Vex. Let him crawl back to his ship if he can. Let him die slowly. Let him know what it feels like to be abandoned." The Krasnars laughed and walked away, leaving Zelmor bleeding in the dust. With great effort, he dragged himself toward the Star Wing. Everyone else was dead. He was alone. Inside the ship, he managed to reach the communication system. His vision was getting dark around the edges. He knew he didn't have much time. "This is Ambassador Zelmor." He gasped into the transmitter. "Proxima Centauri colony, destroyed by Krasnar forces. All colonists, all my team, dead or dying. The Krasnars plan to attack other outer colonies. Send help. Send." He couldn't finish. The pain was too great. The distress call went out, beaming across the stars. Zelmor slumped in his chair, his eyes closing. He thought of the dead colonists, of his fallen team. He thought of the Alliance worlds that might be next. His last thought before unconsciousness took him was that help would come too late. The Alliance Council would debate, discuss, and delay. By the time they acted, more colonies would be lost. What he didn't know was that his distress call had been picked up not just by the Alliance but by Earth, a planet of humans who had only recently joined the galactic community. And unlike the Alliance, they would not wait to act. On the Earth Defense Force vessel Thunderchild, Captain Eric Donovan listened to the broken distress call with growing anger. "How far is Proxima Centauri from our position?" he asked his navigation officer. 4 days at maximum speed, sir." Captain Donovan nodded. "Set course immediately, and get me Earth Command. Tell them we need every ship they can spare." As the eye, Thunderchild changed course, Donovan looked at the stars through the view screen. Earth was still new to the Alliance, still learning the rules of galactic politics. But there was one rule humans had always followed long before they reached the stars. You don't leave allies to die. The Krasnars had left the colonists for dead. They would soon learn their mistake. Earth's warriors were coming, through fire and fury. Captain Eric Donovan stood on the bridge of the Thunderchild, his face grim as he watched the stars streak by outside. His ship was racing toward Proxima Centauri at maximum speed. The distress call from Ambassador Zelmor played again in his mind. "A colony destroyed, people left to die, an enemy planning more attacks." "Sir, we have Earth Command responding to our message," said Samantha Miller, the communications officer. Her fingers moved quickly over her console. "Put them through," Donovan ordered. The main screen flickered, and the face of Admiral Linda Reyes appeared. She was in her 50s with short gray hair and stern eyes that had seen many battles during Earth's troubled past. "Captain Donovan, I've reviewed the distress signal you forwarded," she said. "This is a serious situation." "Yes, Admiral. Request permission to proceed to Proxima Centauri at full speed. We may be able to save survivors or at least gather intelligence on these Krasnar attackers." Admiral Reyes nodded. "Permission granted, Captain. But you will not go alone. I'm mobilizing the Third Fleet. 20 ships will join you at Proxima Centauri within 6 days." Donovan's eyes widened. 20 ships was a massive response. "Thank you, Admiral. But what about the Alliance? Shouldn't we wait for their approval?" Reyes's expression hardened. "The Alliance Council is still debating how to respond. They want to send diplomats to meet with the Krasnar leadership. They want to understand why this happened before they act." "People are dying while they talk," Donovan said. "Exactly. Earth remembers how the Alliance helped us during our darkest times. The resource wars nearly destroyed our planet. Alliance aid saved millions of lives. We do not forget our debts, Captain. We will help now, with or without their permission." Within hours, news of the attack spread across Earth. The response was immediate and powerful. Veterans of Earth's Military forces volunteered to return to service. Factories increased production of weapons and supplies. From across the planet, a single message rang out: we will not let allies face this threat alone. Admiral Reyes stood before the assembled captains of the Third Fleet. The 20 ships represented Earth's finest. Some were large battleships with powerful weapons. Others were fast cruisers built for speed and surprise attacks. All were staffed by crews ready to fight. What we face is an enemy who believes they can attack peaceful colonies without consequences, Reyes told them. They believe the distance between worlds will protect them from justice. They are wrong. The captains nodded in agreement. Our ships will arrive at Proxima Centauri in 6 days. Captain Donovan and the Thunderchild will arrive in 2 days. Until then, we prepare. Study everything we know about the Krasnars. Learn their strengths and weaknesses. Plan for all possibilities. As the fleet prepared, a smaller, faster mission was already underway. Lieutenant Jack Foster led a 6-person team of Navy SEALs on the stealth ship Shadowhawk. Their ship was small and built with the newest technology to avoid detection. Our mission is simple, Foster told his team as they studied maps of the Proxima Centauri colony. We get in, find any survivors, gather intelligence about the enemy, and get out. The Thunderchild will arrive shortly after us, with the fleet to follow. His team was the best Earth had to offer. Olivia Cruz was the demolitions expert, able to build or disable any explosive device. Ryan Kelly was the sniper, quiet and precise. Daniel Powell was the medic, skilled at treating any injury. Allison Wright was the tech specialist who could hack into any system. Ben Harper was their communications officer, responsible for keeping them connected to Earth forces. What do we know about these Krasnars? Asked Cruz, studying the limited information they had. Not much, Foster admitted. They're from the outer rim of the galaxy. They have a warrior culture and have conquered several non-alliance worlds. They're physically strong with natural armor, but they've never fought humans before. Then they're in for a surprise, Kelly said with a grim smile. The Shadowhawk traveled faster than any normal ship could. It used special engines that bent space in ways the Alliance had never mastered. Earth had kept some of its best technology secret, even from its allies. Back on Earth, preparations continued. The Joint Chiefs of Staff met with world leaders to explain the situation. This will not be a short conflict, General Aaron Scott told them. The Krasnars have shown they want to expand their territory. They see the outer colonies as easy targets. If they are not stopped now, more worlds will fall. And the Alliance? Asked the President. What is their position? They are still talking, Scott replied with clear frustration. Some members want action, others fear escalation. They've been at peace so long they've forgotten how to fight. Earth has not forgotten, the President said. We authorize whatever resources the military needs to respond to this threat. As the Shadowhawk neared Proxima Centauri, Lieutenant Foster gathered his team for final preparations. We enter the system under complete stealth, he said. We'll use the asteroid belt for cover and approach the planet from its dark side. No communications, no active scans. We go in quiet. The ship slipped into the Proxima Centauri system like a ghost. Their sensors, on passive mode only, detected a large Krasnar battlecruiser in orbit around the colony world. They're still here, Cruz whispered, looking at the image on their screen. Big ship, heavy weapons, at least 1,000 troops on board based on its size. They think they're safe, Foster said. They don't expect anyone to respond so quickly. That's our advantage. The Shadowhawk landed 3 kilometers from the main colony under cover of darkness. The team moved out, wearing combat suits that helped them blend into the shadows. Each carried weapons designed for stealth, silent and deadly. As they approached the ruins of the colony, they saw Krasnar patrols moving through the streets. The alien warriors were tall and powerful, with gray-green skin and natural armor plates. They carried energy rifles and moved with confident arrogance. They're not even being careful, Kelly observed through his scope. No proper perimeter, no motion sensors. They don't expect resistance. Foster nodded. We move through section by section. Look for survivors first, then gather intel on their operations. The team slipped through the ruins, avoiding Kreznar patrols. They found signs of the massacre everywhere: buildings destroyed, vehicles burned, bodies left unburied. The Kreznars had been thorough in their attack but careless in its aftermath. In the basement of what had once been the colony's medical center, they found the first survivors. A group of 15 colonists of various species huddled in darkness, afraid and hungry. "We're from Earth," Foster told them, offering water and food. "We're here to help." One of the survivors, a thin alien with 4 arms, looked at them with surprise. "Humans? The Alliance sent humans?" "The Alliance didn't send us," Foster replied. "Earth did. We received Ambassador Zelmore's distress call." "Zelmore?" the survivor asked. "He was here, but the Kreznars attacked his team. We thought all were killed." "Do you know where his ship landed?" asked Wright. "He might have made it back there." The survivor pointed east, "Near the main square. But that area is heavily patrolled now." Foster made a decision. "Powell, stay here with the survivors. Keep them safe and treat any injuries. The rest of us will check the ambassador's ship. If he's alive, we need to find him." As they moved toward the main square, the true challenge of their mission was about to begin. Not only did they need to find and rescue survivors, but soon they would face the Kreznar warriors in combat. And for the first time, the galaxy would learn what happened when Earth's warriors fought to protect their allies. Orbiting above them, the Kreznar battlecruiser remained unaware of their presence. Its commander believed the colony was secured, the Alliance too far away and too slow to respond. He did not know that Captain Donovan and the Thunderchild were less than a day away, with the full might of Earth's Third Fleet close behind. The Kreznars had left the colonists for dead. Earth was coming to prove them wrong. Lieutenant Foster and his team moved carefully through the ruins of the colony toward the main square. The night was dark, with only the light of the planet's 3 small moons showing their way. They kept low, using broken walls and burned vehicles. For cover. 2 Kreznar guards ahead, Kelly whispered, looking through his night vision scope. "They're standing by what looks like a landing pad." Foster nodded. "That must be where Zelmore's ship is. We need to get closer without being seen." Cruz pointed to a collapsed building nearby. "We can use that drainage pipe to get around them." The team crawled through the narrow pipe, their combat suits getting covered in dirt and ash. When they emerged on the other side, they could see a small ship. It was damaged but mostly intact. "That's an Alliance diplomatic vessel," Wright said. "Has to be Zelmore's ship." "Kelly, watch our backs," Foster ordered. "Cruz with me, Wright and Harper circle around to the right and be ready to provide cover fire if needed." The team split up, moving like shadows through the ruins. Foster and Cruz approached the ship from behind, avoiding the Kreznar guards' line of sight. They reached the rear hatch, which was partially open. Someone forced their way in, Cruz noted, examining the damaged door. Inside, the ship was dark. Foster activated a small light on his wrist, keeping it dim. They moved through the narrow corridors until they reached the cockpit. There, slumped in the pilot's chair, was a blue-skinned alien with silver eyes. His clothes were stained with dried blue blood. "Ambassador Zelmore?" Foster whispered, approaching slowly. The alien's eyes fluttered open. He tried to reach for a weapon, but he was too weak. "It's okay," Foster said quickly. "We're from Earth. We're here to help." Zelmore stared at them in confusion. "Humans? How did you get here so quickly?" The Alliance Council would still be debating. "We didn't wait for the Council," Cruz explained as she helped Foster check the ambassador's wounds. "We received your distress call and came immediately." The ambassador had a severe energy weapon burn on his side. It had stopped bleeding but was badly infected. Foster called Powell on his secure communicator. "We found the ambassador. He's alive, but injured. We need to get him back to the medical center." "Understood," Powell replied. "I've stabilized the survivors here, but we have a problem. Kreznar patrols are increasing. They might be looking for us." Foster made a quick decision. "We'll bring the ambassador to you. Then we need to find out what the Kreznars are planning." They carefully moved Zelmore onto a makeshift stretcher. As they left the ship, Wright's voice came through their communicators. "Lieutenant, we have movement. A lot of it. At least 20 Kresnars heading this way. They must be changing guards," Harper added. "We need to move now." Foster and Cruz carried the ambassador while Kelly provided cover. They had almost reached the drainage pipe when one of the Kresnar guards spotted them. "Intruders!" The guard shouted, raising his weapon. Kelly fired first. His silent rifle sent a small dart into the guard's neck, finding the gap between armor plates. The Kresnar fell without making another sound, but the second guard had already activated an alarm. "Run!" Foster ordered. They raced through the pipe as energy blast hit the ground around them. On the other side, Wright and Harper were waiting to cover their escape. "This way," Wright said, leading them through a narrow alley. Behind them, they could hear the Kresnars shouting orders. Searchlights began to sweep the ruins. "They know we're here now," Cruz said as they ran. They reached the medical center just as 3 Kresnar patrol vehicles roared past on a nearby street. Powell had the survivors ready to move. "The ambassador needs immediate treatment," Foster told Powell as they placed Zelmore on a medical bed. Powell examined the wound and gave Zelmore a pain-relieving injection. "I can stabilize him, but he needs proper medical care soon." While Powell worked, Foster gathered his team. "The Kresnars will be searching the entire colony now. We need a new plan." "Sir," Harper said, "I was monitoring their communications. They're talking about a cleansing operation scheduled to begin tomorrow. I think they're planning to destroy any remaining structures and eliminate any survivors they find." "We need to get these people out now," Cruz said. Foster nodded. "But we also need to know more about their plans. If they're attacking other colonies, we need that information." Wright pointed to a large building on her tactical display. "That's the colony's main control center. The Kresnars seem to be using it as their headquarters. If we could get in there, I might be able to access their systems." "It would be heavily guarded," Kelly warned. "Yes, but it's our best chance to get the intelligence we need," Foster said. "Here's what we'll do. Wright, Harper, and I will try to infiltrate their headquarters. Cruz, Kelly, and Powell will get the survivors and the ambassador to the Shadowhawk. If we're not back in 3 hours, leave without us." Cruz started to object, but Foster stopped her. "That's an order. The survivors and the information we've already gathered need to reach Earth." Zelmore, who had been listening, spoke weakly. "Lieutenant, why are you risking so much for us? The Alliance has barely accepted humans into our community." Foster looked at the injured ambassador. "Because that's what humans do. We don't abandon allies, even new ones." The team divided their supplies. Foster, Wright, and Harper took only what they needed for their infiltration mission. The others prepared to move the survivors. "Be careful," Powell told Foster as they parted. "Those Kresnars are big." Foster grinned. "Big targets are easier to hit." As Foster's group moved toward the Kresnar headquarters, they saw more enemy patrols, searching the ruins. Alarms were sounding throughout the colony. The Kresnars knew they were no longer alone with their victims. At the edge of the colony's main control center, they stopped to observe. Kresnar guards stood at every entrance. Lights blazed from the windows. Inside, they could see the shadows of many Kresnars moving about. "There's no way we can sneak past all of them," Harper whispered. Foster studied the building carefully. "We don't need to. Look at that power conduit. It leads to an underground maintenance area. Most species don't guard their maintenance tunnels well." Wright checked her scanner. "I'm detecting only one life form in that section. Probably an engineer." "Then that's our way in," Foster decided. They moved to a service hatch half hidden by debris. Wright used her tools to bypass the lock. Inside was a narrow tunnel filled with pipes and cables. "Stay close," Foster whispered as they entered. They crawled through the cramped space until they reached a junction room. A single Kresnar was there, working on a control panel. The alien was so focused on his work that he didn't notice them until Foster was right behind him. A quick strike rendered the Kresnar unconscious. "Tie him up," Foster ordered Harper. "Wright, see what you can learn from that terminal." Wright connected her device to the Kresnar system. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls as she bypassed Security measures. I'm in, she said after a few minutes. And it's worse than we thought. The Krasnars aren't just attacking random colonies. They have a plan to take control of the entire Outer Rim. Proxima Centauri was just the first step. Can you download their attack plans? Foster asked. Wright nodded, copying files to her device. Got them. But there's something else. They've called for reinforcements. 2 more battle cruisers are on their way here. They'll arrive in less than a day. Then we need to warn Captain Donovan, Foster said. He's flying into a trap. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the building. The unconscious Krasnar engineers. Life signs must have triggered an alert. We've been discovered, Harper said, drawing his weapon. Foster looked at Wright. Do you have what we need? She nodded, disconnecting her device. All of it. Then let's go. Back the way we came. As they retreated into the maintenance tunnel, they could hear Krasnar soldiers shouting behind them. The first direct confrontation between humans and Krasnars was about to begin, and the fate of not just this colony, but possibly the entire Outer Rim, hung in the balance. Foster, Wright, and Harper crawled through the maintenance tunnel as fast as they could. Behind them, they heard Krasnar soldiers smashing through doors and shouting orders. They're gaining on us, Harper warned, glancing back. They reached a junction where the tunnel split in 3 directions. Which way? Wright asked, breathing hard. Foster made a quick decision. All of us going the same way makes us easy to track. We split up and meet at the extraction point. Wright, you have the data. That makes you the priority. Harper and I will create distractions. Wright nodded, though she looked worried. Be careful. See you at the ship, Foster said with confidence he didn't fully feel. Then he spoke into his communicator. Cruz, this is Foster. Change of plans. We've been discovered and are separating. Wright has vital intelligence and is heading to the extraction point. Harper and I are creating diversions. Understood, Cruz replied. We've got the survivors moving toward the ship now. Kelly is setting up sniper positions to cover your retreat. They split up at the junction, each taking a different path. Foster moved quickly through his tunnel until he found an access panel that led to a storage room. He could hear Krasnar soldiers in the hallway outside. Instead of hiding, Foster did something unexpected. He opened the door and stepped directly into the hallway, facing 3 surprised Krasnar warriors. Looking for me? He asked. The Krasnars raised their weapons, but Foster was faster. He threw a small device that stuck to the ceiling and released a blinding flash. While the Krasnars were stunned, Foster attacked. He didn't try to match their strength. Instead, he used their size against them, knocking the first one off balance so it crashed into the second. The third fired its weapon, but Foster had already moved, the energy blast hitting the wall behind where he had stood. Foster rolled under the Krasnar's aim and placed a small explosive charge on its leg armor. He dove away as the charge detonated, not destroying the armor but cracking it and making the Krasnar howl in pain. Foster didn't stay to finish the fight. His goal was to draw attention, not to defeat all enemies. Humans! The Krasnar shouted into its communicator. The intruders are humans. Foster ran down the corridor, making sure to be seen by security cameras. He wanted the Krasnars to focus on him, giving Wright time to escape with the valuable data. Across the complex, Harper was creating his own distraction. He had found the power control room and was systematically overloading systems, causing blackouts and alarms to trigger randomly throughout the building. What are these humans doing? A Krasnar commander demanded as reports came in from all directions. Find them! Kill them all! Wright, meanwhile, had exited the tunnel system a kilometer away from the control center. She moved through the ruins, avoiding patrols, heading toward the extraction point where the Shadowhawk waited. In orbit above the planet, a new ship appeared. The Thunderchild had arrived. Captain Donovan stood on his bridge looking at the sensor readings of the Krasnar battlecruiser. Their shields are down, his tactical officer reported. They aren't expecting company. Keep our distance for now, Donovan ordered. Any word from Lieutenant Foster's team? Nothing yet, sir, Miller replied from communications. But there's increased activity on the surface. The Krasnars are scrambling troops. They've been discovered. Donovan realized. Prepare landing. Crafts. We need to extract that team. On the surface, Cruz and Powell had reached the Shadowhawk with the survivors and Ambassador Zelmore. Kelly was positioned on a rooftop overlooking the approach to the ship, his rifle ready. Foster, Harper, Wright, what's your status? Cruz called over the secure channel. Almost to the extraction point, Wright answered, her voice tense. But I've got at least 10 Kresnars behind me. I'm heading to you now, Kelly responded. I'll provide cover. Foster and Harper didn't respond. Their diversions had worked too well. Both were now surrounded by enemy forces. Harper had been cornered in the power control room by 6 Kresnar warriors. He had sealed the door, but they were cutting through it with energy torches. This might be it for me, he said into his communicator when he finally had a chance to respond. But I've set the main reactor to overload. When it blows, it'll take out half their command structure. Foster had led his pursuers on a wild chase through the complex, but now he was trapped on the top floor with Kresnars coming up the stairs. I'm cut off too, he reported. Right, are you clear? Almost, she replied. I can see the ship, but there's open ground between me and it. I'll be exposed. Go now, Kelly told her. I'll cover you. Wright took a deep breath and ran from her hiding place. Immediately, Kresnar soldiers spotted her and opened fire. Energy. Blasts hit the ground around her as she zigzagged toward the ship. Kelly's rifle cracked again and again. Each shot found a gap in Kresnar armor. 3 enemy soldiers fell, then 2 more. But there were too many of them. Just as it seemed Wright wouldn't make it, the sky lit up with fire. Landing crafts from the Thunderchild roared overhead, their weapons blazing. The Kresnars scattered for cover as Earth's forces joined the battle. This is Captain Donovan to all ground forces, a voice announced over their communicators. Hold on, the cavalry has arrived. Cruz lowered the ramp of the Shadowhawk as Wright sprinted the final distance. More landing crafts touched down nearby, disgorging squads of Earth soldiers who immediately engaged the Kresnars. We need to extract Foster and Harper, Wright gasped as she reached the ship. Already on it, Cruz said, pointing to a tactical display. Team 2 is heading for Harper, Team 3 for Foster. In the Kresnar control center, Foster had made his last stand in a communications room. He had barricaded the door, but the Kresnars were about to break through. Then he heard something new. Human voices and weapons fire from the other side of the door. Lieutenant Foster? A voice called. This is Sergeant Adams, Earth Defense Force. We're here to get you out. The rescue team breached the room from an adjacent corridor, catching the Kresnars in a crossfire. Foster joined them, grabbing a spare weapon. Thanks for the save, he said to Adams, but we still need to get Harper. Too late for that, Adams replied grimly, showing Foster his tactical display. The power center was now engulfed in flames, but at that moment, Harper's voice came through their communicators. Don't write me off yet. I found a maintenance shaft. I'm outside the building. Foster grinned. That's why you always have a backup plan. Above the planet, the battle had moved to space. The Kresnar battlecruiser had raised its shields and was engaging the Thunderchild. But Donovan had surprised them, getting in the first shots before they were fully ready. Sir, Miller called from communications. Admiral Reyes reports the fleet will arrive in 6 hours. We just need to hold them until then, Donovan replied, as his ship shook from a Kresnar energy blast. On the surface, Foster's team and Harper regrouped at the Shadowhawk. The Earth Defense Force soldiers had established a perimeter, holding back the Kresnar ground troops. We need to get this intelligence back to the fleet, Foster told Captain Donovan via communicator. The Kresnars have called for reinforcements. 2 more battlecruisers are on the way. Understood, Donovan replied. Get your ship in the air. We'll cover you. As the Shadowhawk lifted off with the rescued survivors, Foster looked down at the battle below. For the first time, the Kresnars were facing an enemy that fought back with skill and determination, an enemy that didn't abandon its allies. The real battle for Proxima Centauri was about to begin. The Shadowhawk docked with the Thunderchild as the space battle continued. Foster and his team quickly moved the survivors to the larger ship's medical bay. Ambassador Zelmore was placed in an advanced treatment pod that began healing his infected Wounds. Your ship's medical technology is impressive, Zelmore said weakly to Foster. The Alliance doesn't have anything this advanced on most of our vessels. Earth keeps some technologies to itself, Foster explained. Old habits from before. We joined the Alliance. Captain Donovan entered the medical bay, his uniform showing signs of the ongoing battle. Lieutenant, I need that intelligence you recovered. Wright handed over her data device. The Krasnar's plan to take the entire outer rim, Proxima Centauri, was just the first step. And sir, 2 more of their battle cruisers are on the way. Donovan nodded grimly. We detected them on long-range sensors. They'll be here in 3 hours. Admiral Reyes and the fleet won't arrive for 5. So we're outnumbered, Foster said. For now, Donovan agreed, but we've survived worse odds. The captain returned to the bridge where his crew fought to keep the Thunderchild in the battle. The Krasnar battlecruiser was larger and more heavily armed, but the human ship was faster and more agile. Shields at 60%, reported the tactical officer. The Krasnars are trying to target our engines. Keep moving, Donovan ordered. Don't give them a steady target. Use the planet's moon for cover when needed. On the surface of Proxima Centauri B, the battle continued. The Earth Defense Force soldiers who had landed were holding their positions against Krasnar ground troops. Colonel Kate Hudson, commander of the 4th Marine Expeditionary Unit, had established a defensive perimeter around the colony's spaceport. The Mao, Krasnars keep coming, her second-in-command reported. They don't seem to care about casualties. Hudson nodded. They've never faced an enemy that could truly hurt them before. They don't know how to respond to real resistance. A Marine called out, Colonel, large enemy force approaching from the east, at least 200 Krasnars. Hudson looked at her tactical display. She had only 80 Marines with her. They were outnumbered more than 2 to 1. Dig in, she ordered. We hold this position until the fleet arrives. In space, the Thunderchild continued its dance with the Krasnar battlecruiser. Donovan had managed to damage the enemy's weapon systems, but his own ship was taking heavy hits. Sir? Miller called. From communications, we're receiving a message from the Krasnar commander. On screen, Donovan ordered. The face of a Krasnar appeared on the main display. Its gray-green skin was marked with battle scars and its yellow eyes showed contempt. Human vessel, the Krasnar said. I am Commander Vex of the Krasnar Empire. Your resistance is pointless. Surrender now, and I will allow your crew to live as slaves. Donovan's face showed no fear. This is Captain Eric Donovan of the Earth Defense Force. We don't surrender to those who attack innocent colonies, and we don't take kindly to threats. You are one ship against a superior force, Vex said. Soon my reinforcements will arrive and you will be destroyed. Perhaps, Donovan replied calmly. But so will you. He cut the transmission and turned to his tactical officer. Target their bridge. Full power to forward weapons. The Thunderchild surged forward, taking more hits but closing the distance to the Krasnar ship. Its main weapons fired, the energy beam striking the enemy vessel's command section. The Krasnar battlecruiser's shields flickered but held. Again, Donovan ordered. Before they could fire, sensors detected new arrivals in the system. Sir? The tactical officer said with alarm. The Krasnar reinforcements are here. 2 battlecruisers just like the first one. Donovan's face remained calm. Now the real fight begins. All crew to battle stations. The 2 new Krasnar ships moved to surround the Thunderchild, their weapons charged, ready to destroy the lone human vessel. Sir, Miller said suddenly, I'm detecting more ships entering. The system. A lot of them. Admiral Reyes's voice came through the communication system. Captain Donovan, sorry we're late. Traffic was terrible. Earth's 3rd Fleet had arrived 2 hours ahead of schedule. 20 warships of various sizes dropped out of faster-than-light travel and immediately moved to engage the Krasnar vessels. Tactical Plan Delta, Admiral Reyes ordered the fleet. Divide their forces and take them one at a time. The human ships moved with perfect coordination, splitting into 3 groups. The largest group, led by the Admiral's flagship Defiance, engaged the original Kreznar battlecruiser. The other two groups each focused on one of the new arrivals. On the Thunderchild's bridge, the crew cheered as reinforcements arrived. "Now that's a beautiful sight," Donovan said with a smile. "Let's get back in the fight." The battle for Proxima Centauri had entered its final phase. In space, the human fleet used tactics that confused the Kreznar commanders. Earth ships deliberately took damage to non-essential systems to create openings for their squadmates. They used mining charges as improvised weapons. They moved in unpredictable patterns that made targeting difficult. One human ship, the frigate Valiant, commanded by Captain Greg Martinez, had taken heavy damage. Its engines were failing, and its weapons were almost depleted. "Sir," his first officer said, "we need to withdraw for repairs." Martinez looked at his tactical display. The Kreznar battlecruiser they were engaging had suffered damage but was still operational. Its engines were exposed after a hit from another human ship. "No," Martinez decided. "We have one more job to do." He opened a channel to Admiral Reyes. "Admiral, requesting permission for a ramming maneuver on Target 2. There was a pause before Reyes responded. "Are you certain, Captain?" "Yes, ma'am. My crew will evacuate in escape pods. I'll stay to guide her in." "Permission granted," Reyes said solemnly. "Godspeed, Captain." The Valiant's crew evacuated while Martinez remained on the bridge. He set the ship's course directly toward the damaged section of the Kreznar vessel. "For Earth and Proxima Centauri," he whispered as his ship accelerated. The Valiant struck the Kreznar battlecruiser's exposed engines at full speed. The resulting explosion tore through both ships, destroying the Kreznar vessel and sacrificing the Valiant and her brave captain. On the surface, Colonel Hudson's Marines saw the explosion light up the sky. "Look at that," one of the Marines shouted. "One of theirs is down." New hope filled the defenders as they continued to hold off the Kreznar ground forces. Then their communicators activated with a message from Admiral Reyes. "All ground forces, reinforcements are on the way. Hold your positions. Viao." Sky filled with drop pods as the 4th Marine Expeditionary Unit's main force arrived from the fleet. 300 human Marines in combat armor landed directly in the midst of the Kreznar forces, disrupting their formations and creating chaos in their ranks. Colonel Hudson smiled as she saw the pods land. "Now, we take the fight to them. All units advance." The tide of the battle had turned. The Kreznars, who had never faced defeat before, didn't know how to respond to the human counterattack. Their rigid command structure fell apart under pressure, as their commanders were targeted by human snipers. In space, the 2nd Kreznar battlecruiser was crippled by concentrated fire from 5 human vessels. The 3rd, Commander Vex's original, ship turned to flee the system. "Oh no, you don't," Admiral Reyes said from the bridge of the Defiance. "All ships with functional engines pursue that vessel. It doesn't leave this system." The remaining human ships gave chase. The Kreznar battlecruiser was fast, but damage to its engines slowed it down. Before it could escape, the human ships surrounded it and opened fire from all sides. Its shields failed, and its hull began to break apart. Commander Vex sent one final message. "This is not over, humans. The Kreznar Empire will remember this day." His ship exploded moments later, ending the space battle for Proxima Centauri. On the planet, below, the remaining Kreznar ground forces surrendered as news of their fleet's destruction reached them. The colony was secure. Earth had won its first interstellar battle. As Foster stood with Ambassador Zelmore watching the Kreznar prisoners being processed, the ambassador said quietly, "The Alliance needs to understand what happened here. How? Earth fought when we were in need. This changes everything." Foster nodded. "We came because it was right. Because no one should be left for dead when help can be sent." The Earth forces had come through fire and fury, and the galaxy would never be the same.